Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome back to our Oceania tour. We are flying around, you may recall, on the Airbus A320 for this entire tour. Part of the reason I did this because the Life of Virtual Airline Pilot, we're doing all 737 for that 737 USA tour right now. So we picked up this A320 tour around the Oceania area to supplement so that we get some variety of aircraft in there. So you may recall that our last flight was into Jackson's International in Papua New Guinea, or AYPY, and we're going to fly from here to WADD, W-A-D-D. It's gusty, and I'm not even going to try and say it because I will more than butcher it. So it's W-A-D-D. It's a pretty long flight today. You'll see that here in a minute when we jump in and take a look at our flight plan. So with all of that said, what do you say we climb up in the flight deck and get to work? Alrighty folks, you know the drill. Let's take a look at our flight plan using Sim Toolkit Pro and our flight plan from SimBrief. You may hear some passengers loading in the background. I did already fire up Pack X from TFDI. Let me know if you're interested in finding that. I can leave a link down in the description. It's not a big deal. It shouldn't take long. Taking a look at the flight plan itself, here we go, AYPY to WADD, and of course this is shortened. This doesn't even have everything in there, but some of you can pronounce it, and some of you can't. I'm definitely in the latter group. But we're looking at 2,036 nautical miles through the air. Estimated takeoff weight of 163,617 pounds, landing at 141,383. Not super heavy, but definitely getting up there just a little bit. Going to be flying at 38,000 feet today. If we come down here to our fuels, we're looking at 27,734 pounds of fuel. I've already loaded that on the aircraft, and I think we maxed out on packs. Now I don't know if this number was the same as what Pack X said. I think Pack X said 161, but either way it's pretty close. Just a little bit of cargo on there brings our total payload to 38,600 pounds. Alrighty folks, welcome to the flight deck here. A couple of things I want to note really quick, and then we'll finish getting things set up here. So Sim Update 10, I believe it was, released not too long ago, and with it brought the DLSS and DirectX 12, I guess we can call it compatibility or feature or whatever. And basically what it is the DLSS. Now, this is a very untechnical way of putting it because I'm no expert in this area, but basically what it does is allows you to crank up your settings without losing frame rates. And we all like that. Something that I kind of dislike about it is, so I cranked a few things up. We're running pretty high settings. We're getting pretty good frame rates. We've been averaging around 50 frames per second, which is definitely solid. I'm good with that. But you notice the forward panel here. I don't know how to describe it, if we call it dirty or just overly textured or what. And I don't recall seeing that before. Now, it could have been there and I just hadn't noticed, but it looks a little strange to me. I will say, though, overall, everything looks a lot sharper. I really do like that. I think it's looking pretty nice. And outside, it's looking really good as well. We've gone ahead and cranked up the buildings and the trees and the bushes and stuff like that a little bit. And we've done it without losing frame rates, which is exactly what it's designed to do. Now, in case you're wondering, I am using the DLSS setting with DirectX 11 because there are still some issues with DX12, and it's working just fine with DX11. I just want to check something here real quick. That one works, that one works. Okay. I had to change up all of my, I had to redo some of my controls. So, but overall, you know, the flight deck looks fantastic. It really does. And this is a really well done aircraft as well. This Qantas livery for this A320, this fly-by-wire A320. So, and I really like the overhead. I like the dark color. I'm assuming that's probably how it is in real world, but you can see here as well, like right around the buttons, it's almost like a little highlight around them. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but anyway, there you have it. So stuff going on there. Yeah, not sure what else to say about it, but either way, we're on the external power right now. We've gone ahead and thrown the flight plan in here and gotten ourselves all spun up on the performance. 122 on V1, 23 on rotate, and 27 on V2. I still don't know how I feel about those accuracy wise. We're not super heavy, but we're not that light either. I'm not doing a flex temp on this, and quite frankly the reason is I still don't fully understand flex temps. I know I've mentioned it many times before. It's sorry, I had to pause there for a second. It's like I got something stuck in my throat. It's something I need to look into more and get more up to speed on. So that's on me, but It is what it is. Let's finish getting the aircraft set up and ready to go here. I gotta remember which button is which. We are going to be flying at 38,000 feet. Since we are still loading, let's just take a moment. I think this is a great time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to brief the taxi and the departure really quick, and then we'll finish setting up the aircraft and we should be ready to push shortly. So with that in mind, once again, SimToolkit Pro and our Navigraph charts. Now, many of you know that I've partnered with Navigraph. I put it on the screen for every video. Listen, you want to take your flight simulation to a new level, Navigraph is definitely the way to go. And they're not paying me anything to do that or anything crazy like that. It's just a partnership, and I've used Navigraph charts for years and I think they're fantastic. There's a link down in the description, or you can just go to navigraph.com. It's not super expensive. It's a yearly subscription. It gives you charts and it gives you the nav data, which is used in the sim, in individual complex aircraft, and so on. So I just want to mention that really quick because I don't say it very often, but Navigraph charts is fantastic and we're going to continue to use them for years to come. So as you can see here, this is our ground chart, or our airport chart for Jackson's International, or Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea. You can see we're located right here at the International apron in front of the terminal, and we're going to be taking runway 32 right. Now there's not a taxiway that runs all the way down there, so we're going to have to taxi down here on Alpha to Mike, and we'll take Mike, and this is technically a runway crossing here because there's an aircraft that will approach there. It's considered a runway, or it's treated like a runway crossing is probably the better way to put it. But we'll cross over here to 32 left and right, and then we'll have to back taxi down the runway and do a turnaround here to get pointed in the right direction. Our departure today, we originally weren't scheduled for a departure, but we were also scheduled to take a different runway. The weather has forced us over here to 32 right, and so we're going to be taking the Gunky 1 RNAV departure, which is going to take us on 318 degrees out to Anlob, bang a left out to Beelup, and then out to Gunky, and then on course from there. We should be good to go. With all of that said, we'll be back in the flight deck here momentarily. We'll finish getting things cleaned up and get this aircraft pushed back. Alright, so I didn't mention it in the brief, but there were no altitude restrictions on our departure, so we can take this bad boy right on up to 380. There we go, 380. Everything else is going to be managed. The altimeter right now is 2980. So bring that up, or down actually, down to 2980. Now I've noticed, let me zoom that in. Just watch the numbers as you move this. Well, when you're zoomed in, it's actually a little cleaner. When you're zoomed out like that, they almost sort of blur from one number to the next. It's a little hard to see where you're at on there. So that may be something to do with the new settings. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, let's just take a quick look here. Matter of fact, I always forget they've got and these guys over at Fly-by-Wire have done a great job. Let me get to the right view here. They've got built-in checklists here, right? So if we come down here to our cockpit preparation checklist, gear pins and covers have been removed. Fuel quantity is set and checked. Seatbelt signs, we haven't turned those on yet because, you know, I don't like to turn on seatbelt signs. So seatbelt signs. There we go, and then the no smoking sign can go all the way on as well. That's going to get her talking back there. That's on now. ADIRS is on nav, and the alignment has already happened. Barrel reference is set. We just did that at 2980. That's complete for that checklist. That'll take us right up to our before start checklist. Parking brake is going to stay on for now. Takeoff speeds and thrust, we already talked about those. Windows are closed, and let's go ahead and throw that beacon light on really quick. And while I'm over here throwing the beacon light on, as soon as I can find it, it's been a minute since I've been in this aircraft. Beacon light, there we go. Beacon light on, and let's get the APU fired up as well.
And cross-check.
Start the APU by pressing the master switch and then the start switch here. And once that starts firing up, it sounds like we're done loading back there because she's checking things out. And I don't hear passengers moving around anymore. That'll take us to our after start checklist, which we'll get to momentarily. I'm going to make sure all the doors and stuff are closed up, let the APU finish starting, and then we'll push and start.
Okay, cleared for push start. Please release parking brake.
Alright, let's get the parking brake off. There we go.
Parking brakes are released.
We need to lock this guy.
Commencing pushback. You can start the engines in sequence.
It will start in the sequence.
There we go. Put this over here. And it's going to be, I always forget, is it 1 and 2 or 2 and 1? I think it's 2 and 1 on this one. So, auto start. You can see everything's just going to happen on its own. It's very simple engine start process. Maybe. Nope, I'm an idiot. I didn't put APU bleed on. There we go. You gotta have the APU bleed to make it work. There we go, you hear it starting up right away. Yeah, don't forget to turn the APU bleed on, folks. That's what you're gonna need to start the engines.
In case of an emergency and we need to evacuate the aircraft, there is lighting on the floor that will guide you towards the exit. In the event that the cabin loses pressure, an oxygen mask will drop right in front of you. Start the flow of oxygen, pull the mask towards you. Place it firmly over your
So I can hear the engine starting up, but you notice
strap if necessary and breathe normally. Although the bag does not inflate, oxygen is
the N2, well, it just shows 1.0. That's kind of weird. I mean, the engine's starting. Oh, the N2's up here cranking up, though. That's kind of weird. Oh, now it's coming up a little bit. Maybe I just never really paid that much attention to that, because it's an auto start, so you don't have... I guess I don't pay as much attention to the N2 on an auto start. Okay, so that's a good start on engine number 2. We'll set the parking brake real quick. We'll let things stabilize. I'll go ahead and start engine number 1. A little shaky on that one. It's been a minute since I flew this airplane, but let me go ahead and get engine number 1 started. I'll be back here. We'll be ready to taxi. Alrighty, that's 2 good engine starts, and I just yeah, I messed that one up a little bit. That's alright though, it's not that big of a deal. It is engine 2 then 1. I just got a little ahead of myself, didn't double check everything on my checklist. So going through our after start flow really quick, let's jump up top here. The APU bleed needs to come back off now. That's this guy right here. Ground spoilers need to be armed. We'll do that here in a second because I want to turn the APU off as well. And to do that, you're just going to click on the master switch right here. Everything else is automatic. Remember, dark cockpit concept, so we don't want to see lights turned on. Lights turned on means something isn't in the condition it's supposed to be in. And so we're good with everything up there. Let's take a look down here for our spoilers. Just try to get the view that works a little bit better. That's going to mess things up, I guarantee you, with my views. There's the spoilers arm. Let's go ahead and set the flaps as well. It's going to be flaps 1, and we are going to be 1.0 on our trim. So let me set that. There we go. That should be 1.0. And if we want to check that, we're going to have to check flight controls anyway. So we'll click on the flight controls, and you see that shows 0.9 on the trim. So that's 1.1. You see it's really being fickle too. Not really sure why. Let's try it again here. Yeah, there we go. 1.0 up. Let's do the flight controls check really quick. Full left. Boy, those things shot up quick, didn't they? Full right. And neutral all the way up. All the way down. And neutral. And then full left on those rudders that are always bouncy going to the right. There we go. Full right. And that takes care of that. We'll put this back over on the engine page. Let's click on the takeoff config. It says normal, but it's not. Auto brakes need to be set to max. That's this guy right here. And then we'll do the cabin check. To do the cabin check, I've noticed, for me anyway, I always have to hit both of them. So I have to hit the, or let's try just all. Let's see what happens. That did the cabin check this time. Fantastic. Okay, what else we got here? Pitch trim needs to be set. We've already done that. Flaps lever is set to 1. We're good there. ECAM status is good. APU master switch is off. Engine anti-ice we don't need. We don't need wing anti-ice. Doors are good. All closed and locked. Ground crew clearance has been received. Let's take a look at the after start checklist. Anti-ice is off. ECAM status is checked. Pitch trim is set. Rudder trim is neutral. We are good to go, and that takes us to our taxi checklist. We've done the flight control check. We've set the flaps. Radar predictive wind shear. I forget this one all the time. See, that's where that view is going to be messed up. Oh, that was loud. That's my 2-year-old son dragging chairs around upstairs. That's the predictive wind shear right there. Let's go back to the proper view here. Engine mode selector, I need to put that back over, and then no blue on the ECAM memo, which is what we were just looking at. And for the engine mode selector, that is so many views. This guy right here. There we go. Let's get back to the proper view. I think I set one so that I wouldn't have that problem. I did. Fantastic. So that takes care of after start. Taxi is good. We do need to get taxi light on, but I'm going to get the track IR light coming on first. A little jump here. Not the track IR light. The track IR, and then we'll get the taxi light on. So come over here. Taxi light, where you at? We can put wing lights on now. I'm not really sure why that's not on there. I think it should be automatic at this point, right? Okay, I think we're good here. You guys notice what I'm talking about? It just looks, I don't know, maybe it's supposed to look that way, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't mind like things looking smudged and stuff like that, but I don't know, it just looks a little weird to me. But I will say that overall it just looks fantastic, the sim, so no major complaints or anything like that, but that looks a little strange to me, to be honest. So it is what it is. Either way, we're going to go ahead and taxi out here. We've already briefed that, so no need for you guys to sit here and watch me taxi the aircraft. I may do a little cinematic here because why not? But other than that, I will see you guys when we are about to... Oh, little jump there. I just started another program. I'll see you guys here momentarily when we're holding short of the runway, yeah? Alrighty folks, let's get her spun around here. Everything looks great. My frame rates are running really solid, but I have been getting stutters. So not really sure what that's all about. Hopefully that will not be an issue as we depart, or especially when we're landing. Stutters are always just so obnoxious. But we'll see how it goes here. Go ahead and spin her all the way around, and we'll take care of our before takeoff checklist here really quick. We of course already have our landing lights and our strobe lights on because, see, there's a stutter right there, because we were back taxiing on the runway. So anytime, even crossing a runway, I believe you're supposed to have your landing lights and strobe lights on, even if you're just crossing an active runway, or any runway at all, probably even if it's inactive. So not 100% certain that I remember that correctly, but pretty sure that's the case. So there are some definite micro stutters in there. Not really sure what's going on with that, but it is what it is. So we've already done our takeoff config. It's good. Our flaps are set. We're looking good there. Let's take a look at our checklist over here. So takeoff runway, we are on the proper runway. We did not turn TCAS on, so now I got to find it because it's been a minute. TCAS is that one. There we go. It's kind of hard with track IR to do some of these because you're like moving your head way around. Packs 1 and 2 can stay as they are. Those are good. And then that would take us to our approach checklist next, which we're not worried about right now. So we are ready for takeoff. Remember, it is going to be a toga or max thrust takeoff. Everything's good to go. So let's go ahead and just get a little bit of thrust in there. Make sure everything's running the way it should. Release those brakes. And toga. Keep her in the center of the runway here. Yeah, see, we could have easily done a derated takeoff. You see the stutters? I hate stutters. I gotta figure out what's causing that now. And we are well past rotate. I didn't even see it. I was so busy worrying about the stutters. Okay, positive rate of climb gear coming up. There's a very positive rate of climb. To the left just a little bit here. And it looks like we can bring flaps up already as well. Just barely though. Actually, that was probably not a good time to bring flaps up. You see how close we were there? I missed it. I did it wrong. I should have waited till, I think it's that dot there is the indicator, right? Now it's telling us TCAS is on standby, and this is because you got to turn it to auto or on, which I forgot to do. There we go. So now it's on auto. We're looking good here. Always enjoy hand flying. We can lower to climb mode now. That's the flex temp. That's climb. And of course we've got an indicator on here as well. You guys are used to this. It's just been a minute since I've flown it, so I do apologize. I'm a little bit sloppy on it here. Let's bring that range out a little bit and lower the nose just a hair. And let's go ahead and get autopilot 1 on. the aircraft take control so that we can worry about doing the other things we need to do. I enjoy hand flying this airplane. It is really well done. It's a lot of fun to hand fly. But we got work to take care of, so let's take care of the work we're here to take care of. Let me just change this view so that it's not going to mess everything up. That's one thing I don't like, is the view system in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's just terrible in my opinion. It really is. Absolutely terrible. Okay, let me get to our flows page here. After takeoff, APU bleed, that was already off. APU master is already off. Engine mode selector is where we want it to be. NAI's protection is off. Seatbelt signer is going to remain on for now. Barrel reference will change. What is transition altitude here? I'm sure it's lower, right? No, it's higher. It's 20,000 feet here. So I remember that flying in now. It's 20,000 feet. So we'll be a minute before we get to transition altitude. What else we got? After takeoff checklist is complete. So I do have a checklist on my page here. There's no checklist over here on the EFB for some reason. It'd be nice to have an after takeoff checklist on here. So if anybody from Fly-by-Wire just happens to take a peek at my channel and sees this video, it'd be awesome if you guys could do a few more checklists in there. But after takeoff checklist, engine mode selector as required. Spoilers, we need to disarm those. That is not a good view for that. There we go. Disarm them from there. There we go. Spoilers are disarmed. Landing gear is up. Exterior lights once we get above 10,000 feet, which that's right now. Fantastic. Let's just jump to the overhead. Again, the views are just, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the views. I don't know how you guys feel about them, but I am not a fan of them. Did we, that one was supposed to be, see, that should have two settings, right? But again, I'm not complaining. These guys do an amazing job on this thing. I just think that's supposed to have two settings, though. Either way, it is going to be dark by the time we get where we're going, so I'll start cranking on these lights here, and then we need to come, seriously? There we go, but it's not that one. It's that one, right? Where's the lights back here? These guys. That's flood, that's integrated panel. And then I used to have a hard time with this one, but it's actually underneath here is these guys up front, right? And then this one's flood, or is that just, I don't know. Either way, I think we're good to go, guys. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've been in this aircraft, but I do like flying it very much, so I'm looking forward to continuing on. But we've done all of our after takeoff checks, and that means, you guessed it, ladies and gentlemen, it still says our nav is on standby, or our TCAS is on standby, though. Wait a minute, we can't do that yet, because I did this instead of all. It's supposed to go TARA over here, and then in the auto position, so I totally botched that. Yeah, it's gone now. Okay, that takes care of our after takeoff items, and now that means, you guessed it, ladies and gentlemen, it is time once again for some of that obligatory elevator music. Alrighty folks, we're a little ways from our top of descent yet. This blue circle that you can see right here, that's from the fix that I entered in there. The fix is ANGSA. I'll show it to you here on the arrival when we brief it here in a moment. But that's going to be the start of our descent. That's going to put us where we need to be. So with that in mind, we want to go ahead and prepare for our descent, and then obviously our arrival and our approach. Now I don't have good weather yet, but the weather that I do have says that the wind is calm. So I'm going to go with that for now, and we're going to plan our approach accordingly. And then if there's a drastic enough change, because we can land with a tailwind if we need to, but if there's a drastic enough change, then we'll make an adjustment on the way in. So we've got our landing information, altimeters. We don't have an altimeter setting yet. We will get that as we get closer. And then we're not using radio navigation. We're going to be flying an RNP approach. I'll show that to you here momentarily. And then our descent checklist is the approach briefing, minimum safe altitudes, landing elevation, and altimeters. So let's take a look at the arrival and the approach briefings real quick using Sim Toolkit Pro and our Navigraph charts as always. It is the ANGSA 3 Charlie arrival for us, coming in out here at ANGSA. We need to be at or below flight level 230, hanging left to Myong, down to Gurl, and then Koala at or above 17,000. We got 27.8 miles from there. I don't know how well you can see that on your screen, but that's the distance between Koala and Cobra. We need to be at or above 10,000 at Cobra. I think I put that as a hard altitude inside the MCDU or FMC there. At or below 4,000 at Nogus, and then down to Kuta at 3,000, and that's going to put us onto our approach, which is going to be, and I've got this zoomed out just a little, or zoomed in a little bit there, the RNP, or Required Navigation Performance Runway 9 approach. ATIS is going to be on 126.2, Bali radar on 119.7, and tower on 18.1, ground on 18.8. It is an RNAV approach. Final approach course is 87 degrees, and our final approach fix is DD404, which is also our missed approach point, and that is 1,689 feet. I'm sorry, that is not our missed approach point. That is our final approach fix and our descent point, or our final, what do you call that? I mean, you would call it the glide slope intercept on an ILS. What do you call it on an RNAV? I don't know. The decision altitude is 266 feet using LNAV and VNAV. Airport elevation is 14 feet. Runway elevation is 11 feet. For a missed approach, climb on course 087, and then once you're at or above 2,000 feet, turn right direct to Kuta, 3,000 feet, and then hold or as instructed by ATC. There are several minimum safe altitudes in the area, 9,700 feet to our left. Straight ahead is 3,000 feet and 2,000 in this lower left, not really a quadrant, but basically the area where we're approaching there. And then of course you can see the vertical profile here. We should have happy lights on the left hand side, and everything should be pretty much good to go. Real quick, let me just show you the setup here inside the MCDU. It is nice and dark outside. So when I went in here and I set up this approach, I put in the arrival, and it just stopped at ANGSA. It didn't have any of the other waypoints in there, so I had to put them in manually. And of course it put the cruise altitude for the altitudes for each of those. So I had to go in here and manually adjust each one of those to make sure that we're hitting the appropriate altitudes. I did put at or above for some of these, but it just put it in as a hard altitude. So probably just a limitation right now. That's fine. I'm not too concerned about it. But the big ones are going to be Kuta, 3,000 feet to set us up for our approach, 2,500 at DD403, and then 404 is 1,700. And again, that's our final approach fix. So no nav radio frequency in there because it is an RNAV approach. See, I've got ANGSA in here. We're 150 nautical miles from ANGSA. We're actually 100 miles from top of descent because we need to start our descent at 50 nautical miles from ANGSA, and that is what this blue circle is, right? So if you're not sure how to do that, I'm sure I've shown this before, but just real quick, if you go into your flight plan, click on the first waypoint on the line select key on the left hand side, select fix info, and then you can type in your waypoint there, and you can either put a radial, a radius, or both, and then you can have more than one of these. Right now we just need the one, so I'm not too worried about it. That just gives me my descent point. So that works out nice there. Last thing we want to do here, maybe it's a skosh early for it, but that's alright. We can go ahead and we can set our altitude down to, I'm just going to take it all the way to 3,000 feet. I want to see how the vertical navigation is working on this thing and see if it holds the altitudes like it's supposed to. So I'm going to set it to 3,000 feet. As we cross this blue line, you'll just give that bad boy a little click with the down arrow there, and that'll start the descent for us. Other than that, there's nothing to do until I get close enough to pick up weather. So if there's a significant enough change to where we need to alter our approach, I'll come back on here and let you know. Otherwise, I will see you all when we're on the approach. Alrighty folks, we're just inside 10 nautical miles from Kuta at this point. Let's hop on over here, take a real quick look at our checklist. And our approach checklist: barrel ref is set, seatbelts are on, minimums are set, auto brake we're not going to use, and engine mode select is good where it's at. Which will take us to our landing, which will just be the ECAM memo. No blues on there, so we should be good to go. Now, it's got a decel point right before the turn, which is a little late for me. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll this speed on down to 200 knots. There we go. And I just want to start kind of getting things set up for making that turn and then getting onto the approach. So it's going to be full flaps landing. The approach speed is 121 knots. We'll give the speed back to the aircraft here in a couple of minutes. I just want to start getting us set up. Let's go ahead and arm those spoilers. There we go. And go to flaps 1. And you see that's why I chose 220. It's just below that flaps 1 speed, but still a little quicker. I don't want to be putzing along. We still got 5 miles till we make the turn at Kuta. And we're looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and let's get those dome lights off at this point. Had to pause the sim a couple of times, so it's actually a little later. That's one thing I dislike about Microsoft Flight Simulator is the sim time keeps running even when it's paused, which I find a little strange. I'm just tuning the brightness down on those a hair. I don't know why it stays that way. I would think that if you pause it, the sim time should pause too, but it doesn't. So it is what it is. About to make the turn here, and we're just on top of that decel point now. I don't know what it's going to do for that. Let's see what it says for speed. Yeah, thrust to idle, and it just shows 121 on there, and then it's decelerating. So we're looking pretty good. Coming down to, looks like 2,500 here, which is where we're going to need to be. And I think we can go flaps too. Oh, it didn't like that at all. It was too soon. My bad. It starts screaming at me. That's right, there's a little dot on there. That's once we get below that dot, I think it turns green, and then we can go to flaps too. I am no Airbus expert by any means. Yeah, see, we're below the dot now, but it didn't turn green. And you can go slower as well, right? So if I'm not mistaken, that's slats setting there. But we're good now. So there we go. And you can see runway and everything just up ahead there. What I'd like to do is just get us set up by the time we get to DD404, which, as you can see, is this one right here. And that way we can just turn off the autopilot and fly this in ourselves. Yeah, so that should be flaps full by then, right? If I'm not mistaken. So let's go ahead and go, how far out are we from that? 1.3 there, and then it's another 4.2. Yeah, we're not that far out. Let's go ahead and drop the landing gear. Go flaps 3. Let her just settle here for a moment. A little bit of fog in the area. Ooh, look at that. Let's go full flaps here. That angle of attack there, pretty steep, wasn't it? Alright, let's take a look at this checklist really quick. ECAM memo, landing no blue. No blue. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and check that off. Clear it out, and there we go. And then we can have our Navigraph charts integrated here, so that we can reference it briefly if we need to. It's got the little airplane on there, looking fantastic. I've also got it Navigraph charts with my Sim Toolkit Pro on the other screen, so no problems there. So we're just looking for DD404, and we should be at 1700 by the time we get there. Let's see if it makes it. And assuming it does, we'll go ahead and disconnect the autopilot. There's that choppiness again. Well, not choppiness, but stutters, right? I don't like those stutters at all. 2.5 miles now to DD404. Of course, we'll fly auto throttles all the way down to the flare, which is works super well in the Airbus. There's some other aircraft that do it as well, but in the Airbus it really does work super well, so really like that. But let her just settle here, 1,700 feet, and that's what we're set at on here, so it's not going to descend past DD404 unless we take control of the aircraft. So let's go ahead and do that at this point. Autopilot off, my airplane, and we're looking fantastic right now. We'll just keep her where she's at. Just a little bit of wind coming off that right hand side, and we don't want to descend quite yet. There we go. Don't want to climb either. But she can be a little touchy. It could just be my controls as well. But remember, it's the fly-by-wire, so on the fly-by-wire we're just about to cross. On the fly-by-wire it trims automatically. So what do we got there? 0.1? 0.3. Man, that choppiness is obnoxious, isn't it? Alright, we're looking pretty good though. Just a little crosswind, and I think we're drifting a little bit to the right there as well. Let's go ahead and start our descent. Looking good. And so we are at 121 knots, and so our rate of descent should be about 600 feet per minute, which that's a bit too fast there. But initially, for it to be a little faster, it kind of makes sense because we overshoot that descent point just a tiny bit. And that should settle in right there. That's 700 feet per minute, 600, that's 5. Bring it out just a hair more. And we're looking pretty solid there. So you can see the rate of descent kind of goes up and down just a little bit. And we're just going to kind of finesse it to where we want it. That's 700 feet per minute at the moment. We want it, it's at about 620 is where we want to be. So it's going to sort of be back and forth just a bit. And we are off to the right a little as well. And that wind coming off the right, that makes sense. So I'm not overly concerned here. Mainly I'm just watching that. You can see it's trying to descend just a wee bit faster. And that'll get us a little low if we're not careful. So we've got to keep an eye on that. And let's listen to our call outs. We just heard the 1,000-foot call out. We'll listen to the rest of them, take it on in, and hopefully get a nice smooth landing. Yeah, we're looking pretty solid. See how we're just a little low on those pappies now, though? Because it's been hanging out around 700 feet per minute descent rate. It's hard to get 620 feet, right? So there's 500. That puts us back on glide slope, and then just nose it over a tiny bit. You got to do it real gentle, like. If you do it too hard, you're going to be diving at the ground again. If you do it too soft, you're not going to get where you need to be, right? So there we go. There's the 500-foot call out. We're looking good. And the wind shifted around. It's behind us now. So it did say wind's light and variable. It is a 3-knot wind. So we're looking good. Let's listen to the rest of the call outs.
300. 200.
Continue. There should have been minimums. I don't know why it didn't sound it. There we go. That's where we want to be.
100.
Got just a hair high. That's okay.
50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 10. 5.
Not too shabby there at all. Where's my reverse thrust here? None? Alright, we'll take this next exit here. Get on those brakes a little bit. There we go.
Ladies and
Nice.
gentlemen, welcome to
We're up around the corner here.
Time is 6:57 p.m.
Let's get those
and it's
lights
currently
squared
about
away.
25
Maybe.
degrees Celsius. You can now use
Or
your
not.
mobile devices.
Oh, those lights
Please
can be
remain
frustrating,
until
right?
the aircraft is coming
There
to
we
a
go.
stop
Whoa,
and
whoa.
signs
Where are you
are
going?
Remember to use
Airplane's on its own program all of a sudden. Goodness gracious. Just one down on this. Start that. And we'll take it, we'll go straight across to the apron here. And then we're going to taxi down this apron to the international terminal. And then I'll be back on here momentarily. We'll get her parked and we'll wrap this one up. Alrighty, we'll take this next parking space here. I did use AIG traffic, but didn't come on. Didn't work right. Didn't put any traffic in. It did do an update, so I thought it would work, but apparently not. So that's fine. Swinging around here, let's go ahead and get that taxi light off. It's going to make it hard for us to see, but I think we'll be alright here. I can just make out the taxi line right there. You guys may or may not see it. Hard to say. Get that mouse cursor out of the way there. And as we inch our way up here, we'll just, we're kind of guessing at where the spot to stop is because there's nobody to guide us. I know they do have GSX for Microsoft Flight Simulator now. It's been some pretty mixed reviews. That should be good right there. So I'm not going to grab it quite yet. I don't want to spend a bunch of money on something that's not going to work right for me. So fantastic. Let me get the track IR off. There we go. And let's jump down here real quick and let's go ahead and first things first, we'll connect that jetway. So connect the jet bridge. It's coming on over. Get a ground power unit, cargo door, baggage truck. It's not letting me do wheel chock, surprisingly. That's coming in over there. Let's go ahead and make sure our APU is up and running, which it is. APU gen is on, APU bleed is on, and we can go ahead and we can shut the engines off. So 1, 2. Okay. I don't know, sometimes it does that and sometimes it doesn't. I always found that kind of weird. Let's just continue here. I didn't even look at that, so if you want to pause it and go back and look, feel free. And they should start offloading the aircraft here shortly. Let's jump back up top here and get on the external power, which is now available. And that means we can come off the APU bleed, turn the APU master switch off, and we're good to go there. What else we need to do here? Let's take a look at our... I always kind of do this. I'm doing the after landing checklist, right? But I didn't turn off predictive wind shear. That's the only thing on here, and that's like one of the only things I didn't do. That's this one down here. I go through the procedures that are typical for an after landing checklist, but I don't actually look at the checklist, right? Parking brake and chocks are both set. Engines are off. Wing lights and fuel pumps all need to come off at this point. So let's go up here. Here's your fuel pumps right here. Again, dark cockpit concept. You turn all these off and you get all those white lights. And we didn't turn the strobe lights off either. Shame on me. I'm sure that annoyed somebody. Wing lights can come off as well. Fuel pumps are off. We're good to go on that. And that takes care of our parking checklist. We're not going to secure the aircraft because it's going to be ready for another flight, and that means that's going to wrap it up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I could turn the beacon light off, I suppose, since we don't have the APU running anymore, but whatever, it gives us a little light. I'm going to leave it running. Didn't hear any offloading from the what do you call it, Pack X, so that was kind of interesting. Let me just go over here real quick. And that's going to wrap it up, folks. I hope that you enjoyed it. I know I did. I love doing all these flights, and I love doing them with you guys. So I hope you're having a good time with this particular series. And if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. That lets me know that you like the content, and it gives me that, I don't want to say motivation to keep doing it, because I'm going to keep doing flights anyway, but it definitely lets me know what your guys' preferences are. So if you definitely like these Airbus flights, flying around in the Oceania area and so on, give it a thumbs up, and that lets me know. Subscribe to the channel if you think I've earned it, and I'm hoping, boy, it'd be awesome if we could hit 10,000 by the end of the year, but as of the recording of this, it's the end of September. We're at 9133, I think, so probably not going to hit 10,000. That's okay, though, because all 9,133 of you are awesome anyway. That's it. That's all, and no more, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, as always, keep the blue side up, unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all, and have an absolutely fantastic day.